Yeah. Well, welcome everyone to Modern Mystics with myself and my co-host and usually main host, Andy, who's now in Mexico.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, things move pretty quick around here. And actually, we are moving the show back to Sunday, prime time at 10:30 a.m. MST. So we'll be back on Zoom, but also, of course, streaming to YouTube. And you can always find these shows on spirit.ai/TV. So yeah, 10:30 a.m. MST. You can find us on the YouTube player. So on Sundays, 10:30 a.m. MST on the YouTube player on spirit.ai.
Yeah.
So yeah, here we are.
Yeah, so there have been some shifts. Yeah, I just came down to Mexico, I think like 3 days ago, 2 or 3 days ago. And yeah, I suddenly felt this inspiration to come down. So now I'm here and Nicolas is up there in Camas, Utah. So yeah, we're kind of back to how we started the show where I was in Mexico and Nicolas was in Utah. And yeah, it's been very healing for both of us so far the last few days. And yeah, a couple different themes like, communication, humbleness and arrogance and washing through arrogance and all these different themes, because I noticed for me, like when I came down to Mexico, I was in very high communication, very inspired. And, but I was also trying to bring some of the things in the past that have worked for my mind. And it's always like we need to stay very clueless and in an I don't know mind so we can see like what's most helpful. And right now it feels like for our mind, or like for me and Nicolas and us in the community, it's like when I came down here, I was like the priority is the relationships. And it always is a priority really, but sometimes it's like, okay, so projects are main focus, relationships are main focus. It's kind of like the focus kind of shifts. And I was like, since I was moving through apathy, it was like really helpful for me to have this long checklist of things where I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go and I'm just going to do a lot of things very fast. And then I would move really fast and I'd have really beautiful experiences through that. But then I was trying to do that when I came down to Mexico, and it's like, wait, no, I need to stay like very clueless and open-minded and see what is it for my healing right now. And then I found out, yeah, the priorities are the relationships. And one of the relationships is Nicolas, so Nicolas is one of them. And then I have the ones down here and then Jeffrey. And then, that's the priority right now. And even like, and if I don't know what the priority is, then this sense of like pressure and overwhelm will come into my mind. And that's only because I don't know what my priority is. And what's a priority? It's really just whatever the Holy Spirit's guiding us in the moment. That's the priority. So if the priority is relationships and I'm doing something else, I'm basically going with the ego and doing my own thing. And then of course I'm going to feel overwhelmed and pressure because it's like I'm cut off from the spirit. So yeah, it's been like a constant practice of like remembering what the priority is, just going with that, and then I feel really good. But then, so it's like even yesterday, the beginning of the day was great. Like I was like, okay, priorities are relationships, and I would just connect with different ones here, and it felt really good. And then we had the show. We had the show right now, so Nicolas had messaged me, hey, let's connect about the show. And yeah, I mean, I could feel like some kind of like, I don't know, fear of joining or fear of connection or some kind of like push away or whatever. And could feel that in my mind. So it's almost like I went towards the past way of doing things for my mind, which was just, which in the moment it seemed like, okay, we had this big gathering last night, so it's like, get ready for that. But it's like I forgot in that moment that the priority is the relationship. So the priority is making sure this call with Nicolas happens, because that's my priority. So that didn't seem to happen, and then this pressure and overwhelm came back. So it's almost like it's a really good reminder, like, yeah, you have to go with the priorities, whether maybe there's fear to go step into it, but it's like we have to move towards it, and then we'll feel connected and really good again. But if we don't, and then we start going in another direction, then we're just, you're either a slave to the ego or a host to the spirit. So yeah, I just kind of went a little bit off track, and then felt pressure and overwhelm and didn't know why. And then it's like, oh yeah, it's the relationships. So it's like, okay, back in the relationships. And then it's like, when I know the priority is relationships, then there's going to be everything with that kind of takes off. Because yeah, me and Nicolas tried to connect a few times and it didn't seem to work. And it's like, just remembering, okay, what's the priority in the moment, and then the communications will follow that too. But it's like there was some kind of fear, so it's like the guidance was like missed a little bit. So it's always like, okay, what is it now? It's like, what can I do right now? And it's like, okay, yeah, I remember now. It's the relationship. So it's like the airplane that's flying across the country. It's like constantly needs correction. Like it's always flying off track. Like airplanes are always flying off track, but they're constantly adjusting and making corrections. So it's like nothing's went wrong, but what can we do right now to make sure we're back on track with the Holy Spirit?
Yeah. Yeah, because for me and all that, I could just see, yeah, there was my own deferral and everything, just with like, oh, Andy's got it. Or as soon as I heard that, we were having the show today and you might actually be hosting it from Mexico, I thought, well, all right, great. I'm not sure if I'm feeling it or something like that. Just kind of handing it off. And yet I don't know, I had this word come to me yesterday and I actually didn't even associate it until this very moment, but it was this remembrance that every relationship is a full commitment. Nothing on this spiritual path is really casual, especially, not for us. And it's our life. And yet with everything that happened yesterday, I don't know, things were just not flowing. And then there was this grievance that was really growing. And then at some point, I just forgot I had some sort of meeting, and then there was a miscommunication. And then after the meeting, it was decided we'd have kind of a silent rest of the evening here, just to be really in prayer with actually the whole, we don't really use a lot of these symbols very often, but when they show up, just the spirit uses all symbols. So this whole lunar eclipse thing that happened last night, just the symbolism of it being a time of releasing old patterns. And actually I was kind of unwilling to see it a bit, but all this thing about like deferral and blame and all that, I mean, these are old patterns, and they just like really reared their head last night, and I could feel, I could just feel all this anger that came up. And I was, Andy had just written back to me something about like, well, why did you schedule like some sort of 5 p.m. meeting if you had that thing? And I was ready to write back a bunch of like FUs and like, I like this rage like just kind of was really rearing its head. And I was trying to keep in mind the whole silent night, but I was ready to like call and like, yeah, just this rage had reared its head. I wanted to like call back and like curse you out and everything. Like I just, yeah, it's like, it just like was overcoming me. But I thankfully actually, there was that prompt for a silent night. And I just felt in some sense, all things work together for good because it just kind of forced me into more prayer. And even though I didn't pop through it, it just got me more in touch with all the feelings. And then before our show today, we just kind of really talked about all of it and moved through actually a lot of anger. Cause I was telling you this morning, like, no, you're doing the show by yourself. I'm angry. I'm not coming on this show and sharing it all. And it's like, it's your fault. I just, there's still this unwillingness to just, take a sense of responsibility, because it's only in that kind of taking back that projection that from that point you can actually have release. As long as I'm holding out this projection, it's your fault, I have nothing to do with it, it's all out there, I still feel like crap. I still feel really bad, and I'm still trying to make you feel bad. Holding the guilt onto you. And yet there is no release for me. There's still like this, like a dog stuck on a bone, that sort of feeling. And so it was nice to just actually have that reminder that, there is no release without forgiveness, without first taking back the projection and then handing that over to the spirit. Like, okay, show me that I was just mistaken here, show me the innocence here. Have me not willing, help me find the willingness not to know or think I'm right in this situation. Because there's no peace in being right in this egoic sense. I mean, the spirit is not concerned with being right in an illusory world, in a world that the only meaning it has is when it is given over back to the spirit. So that's just kind of what I was hearing when I was in prayer about all of this. And actually, I mean, I had my journal right here, and I just wrote, because I like to journal to Jesus as the name I like to use, or the symbol I like to use. I wrote, "Good morning, Jesus. I'm feeling angry as I wake up today. And I think Andy is bleep, bleep, bleep." I don't know if I should actually read some of those words, but not exactly pretty words. I feel I want him to take responsibility for us not having a call yesterday, even though it was partly my fault as well. Even there, I can't even write it fully. I still feel like it was only partially my fault. I don't want to see this as being somehow my fault. So if the lesson here is for me, I'm going to need your help to gently correct me. Show me that I can't mess it up and that there is no loss. So that's just what I was journaling this morning. But yeah, I mean, that's been a deep prayer of mine lately, just really within the last week. Like, show me there is no loss and show me that I can't mess it up. Yeah, because I've been having these deep doubts, and it's like this recurring pattern for me, but just these deep doubts and this uninspiration and feeling like I couldn't remember like what this whole spiritual path is for. Like, why am I doing any of this? Like, I can't feel it. Not that I can really feel anything else. Like, oh, I'd rather be doing this or that. I can't really say that that's in my mind, but just been feeling this deep doubt, deep fear coming up for me, and this intensity around like help me, like, Jesus, help me remember. Like, I can't, I feel numb. Like, I can't remember what any of this is for. I can't remember the joy. Just seems like something overtook me. And a lot of it, I feel is with Jason, who's been a big support here, going down to Mexico to offer support down there. And then also you, Andy, just you actually haven't been here for so many months. I don't feel like I'm as in touch with the emotions in this moment, but I just know that, yeah, when I heard you were going, and in one aspect it felt so good to head for you to head down to Mexico. I really felt actually this sadness was coming over me, and this sense of fear, because even though it wasn't always conscious, like you offered this, I don't know, just your presence being around offered this sense of stability in my mind. I mean, we'd been here like 6 months together. We had never really lived together in community or outside of the spiritual community, like for that much of a concentrated period of time ever. You know, it was like this whole new experience, and I've been actually really grateful for all that, you know, all the healing and all the joy and all the collaboration through this show with you being here. And yeah, it actually just impacted me a lot more than I initially thought it would, but just, yeah, it was like kind of this shake for me. And so, yeah. Yeah, just even recently we ended up watching all as a group here. We ended up watching this this episode of Black Mirror, which is this show. I guess it's
Netflix.
Yeah, and the episode was called Nosedive, and it had this actually deep, had a lot. It's a really powerful episode, and it has a lot of themes of like unworthiness and patterns of reinforcing unworthiness, and a lot of, you know, well, and along with that, comparison, you know, looking to form as a solution for like a state of mind. Because this one girl, she just really thinks that the main character really thinks that her life would be better if she lived in this more upper class society. It's like this futuristic society, and she really thinks she'd be better off if she were in this higher class. And they use a lot of what seems like social media to rate people constantly in every interaction. And there's a lot of people pleasing that goes along, and it's just this, really, it's just this terrible situation. But you know, for her state of mind, and she's using this whole rating system to try and raise herself up and people please her way up so that she can live in what seems like a better situation and then feel happy. I'll be happy when. And we're clearly reminded by, you know, Jesus in A Course in Miracles that, you know, future happiness is not your just reward. You know, you are to be happy now. Like, that's your inheritance. And she just is kind of stuck in this until really her whole, it's really a journey of unraveling. And in this movie, and we were watching it with commentary, and just through listening to that commentary from David Hoffmeister, I just started to get this feeling of like remembering what everything was for, and like just an inkling of it. Like I could start to feel this sense of hope, like, oh, something with freedom of mind started to really resonate in my mind. I just want to feel like that freedom, that I can just trust in the communication that's coming through me, or find a better way of communicating. Just there's something with communication and wanting to find that deep ease, you know, with the spirit in communicating, and that really resonated with me. And I could just feel like this sense of inspiration and hope with that. And then afterwards, you know, as I was just in prayer during just this kind of after talk we were having about the episode here, I just was, yeah, I could just feel all this, like these competitive thoughts in my mind just around Jeffrey, who's here as well, and just who's my link, and just wanting to feel like, wow, I've been here longer, and all these whatever ridiculous thoughts that basically I feel like he should be coming towards me, I should be counseling him and I should be his support, and all of this, whatever egoic thoughts that were coming up for me, and just feeling like, just that was just really in my mind. And then just being in prayer with all that, hearing in my mind actually the next kind of guided step for me, which was actually, and I don't use these words very often, but I wanted actually Jeffrey to be my sponsor, kind of like an AA thing, because I do feel an addiction in my mind. I feel like some sort of addiction to, trying to figure out what it is I want. I have a perceptual problem. I couldn't really describe what the addiction is in those sorts of terms, but I felt like those are the words that come out. Like, I'm addicted and I need help. Like, I need help for consistent happiness. It was just this like deeper sense of prayer that was coming out, and I was sobbing, and I can feel it. It's not totally up in the surface level, but it's definitely there right now. And I'm feeling like I need help. I don't know what alternative I have in my mind, because like this, this is for me. Like, if this isn't, I don't know what is. I need help. So that's just, the words that kept coming in, and like, I want you to be my sponsor. So something felt really beautiful about that, and just like this next step. And I've actually been using, I don't know if I'm actually supposed to do this or not, but I've been using this moment as your miracle lately as part of my next steps, and just the journaling exercises in there. Starting back from the beginning of this book that's actually just about to launch more publicly in early February, but a lot of copies came out early. And it's actually been really impactful. Just even the first journaling exercises of maybe I could just read them. I know I've been talking straight for a while, Andy, but there's been a lot to this that's been really helpful for me. The first chapter is actually judgment and knowledge. Some of the subsection titles are called, how good is good enough? Just a lot of these things that are pretty deep, or like our deepest problem. And really the deepest problem that's described in here is the I know mind, thinking rather than are you willing to be shown? Anytime you think it's, well, really, let me bring it back. Anytime I think I know, it's just unhappiness. I'm in a place where I'm blocking being shown what my happiness is in the moment. Anytime I think I know either what to do, what I should be saying, anytime it's coming from like this reaction, instead of this like responding from a sense of prayer, it can't lead me to happiness, because, the ego is always the one who's speaking first, is always the one reacting. The spirit is described as that small, still voice that's within us. And so, the exercise here is spend, I'll just read it out, but this should be every day. But it says, spend one day observing the I know mind, and try spending it without one single opinion. Try it out. Get the flavor of it. As you go through your day, ask yourself, where is my mind when I am caught up in my opinions, thinking I know something? And how do I feel when I am open and I do not think I already know the answers? Throughout your day, notice how many times you think you know the answer to something, want to know the answer, say or think opinionated statements, make assumptions about someone or something. Here's some good ones, because I started, I'll explain more of it. Interrupt a conversation because you think you know better than someone. Do something solely based on past outcomes and past learning. And then it says basically after, spending a day really watching your mind about all these things, to journal out through these 5 questions. And I mean, they were impactful for me. I can see if I just actually keep those questions in mind and actually even do this journaling each day, I mean, this could be really revolutionary for me. I could just get that sense. But when I read that the night before, it's like the next day I was in all these meetings, and I could just, I could see in my mind, not that it was really about this, but I was like, wow, I feel so rude, because I could see how much I was like trying to, speak up, share something I thought I knew, share my opinions, basically cutting people off. And yet, yeah, it was really in my awareness at that point. And I could still see it was like happening, but I was like, wow, okay. I really this is deeper than I thought. Just where I'm reinforcing this I know mind, and basically reinforcing my unhappiness. Even with yesterday, I think I know how Andy should be, and I hate him for it. There's some intense thoughts that were coming up, but basically I was like, this asshole, he needs to communicate. It's his fault. All these things, and yet even yesterday there was all these things about me not communicating. There was a very kind of weird and sticky situation that came up here yesterday, where I saw actually quite clearly where I didn't want to speak up, and I used basically false excuses not to speak my mind. And yeah, this deferral only actually made me feel much worse than I was already feeling. And yeah, I don't know if I have all the specifics to it, but it's just, yeah, it feels very deep for me. So maybe there's more to it, but I just felt to kind of invite you to share anything if you had any, Andy.
Yeah, I do feel that it's really important that I don't know mine, because yeah, I brought, and it's like one of the exercises you said, I think, bringing past learning and past reasoning or something. That's exactly how it felt like. It's like we had these amazing exercises in Camus, and as I was saying, like I would just get in this state of mind of like, okay, I'm going to move really quickly and check off everything on my checklist. And then when I came down here, it's like, oh, I know how my healing is going to go. Like, I know what to do for my healing. I know how to heal my own mind. That whole I know mind was there. And so when I tried to use something in the past that worked, it didn't work. It's because I was in the I know mind. And then, yeah, it's like I was saying, the overwhelm, the pressure came in. And of course, there's so much pressure if you think you're actually healing your own mind, because it's like, wow, it's like, how could we heal our own mind if we think we're the ego? It's like, it doesn't even make any sense. It's like the ego is trying to heal itself, but the ego is the error. So it was like, yeah, so Lisa and Jason came here and we had a meeting, and she just reminded everyone, yeah, it's like a deep humbleness. It's a deep, I don't know. It's a deep cluelessness in every moment. And it's like, wow, that really, like, I didn't even realize until I heard those words how much I was in like I know how to do this. I got this. I don't need you, Jesus. I don't need you, Holy Spirit. That kind of attitude was really in my mind. And no wonder I felt so much pressure and overwhelm. It's like, because I was trying to do myself, like the ego. And so it was amazing, because I was even talking to Lisa out on the street in front of the house here. And yeah, we're just talking about the state of cluelessness and I don't know and deep humbleness. It's like, and a deep prayer. It's like, okay, Holy Spirit, what would you have me do now? I don't know myself. I don't know how to, I don't know how to do anything. I don't know how my mind's going to get healed. I don't know how I'm going to move through these old patterns. I literally don't know anything. And it's all like just from listening and following you, because I don't know. And so we're out in the street, and yeah, we're just talking about that state of cluelessness. And every now and then this is really sweet, because this ATV would drive by really slowly, and it was like, there was like 3 or 4 Mexican kids in there, and they all looked so happy and like so clueless. And the driver of the ATV was probably like 10 years old, and he was like, you could tell like he had no idea what he was doing. Like he probably didn't even know how to drive a car. Well, yeah, he was probably like 10 years old, so he was like totally clueless, but they were all so happy, and like you could tell like they had no idea like what's going on, but they were so happy. And then like 2 minutes later, this guy would walk down the street with like a boombox, and you can just like feel like, they're just in a state of like openness, like in the I don't know cluelessness, and they're so happy, and they don't care about holding up some kind of like image, like, yeah, I got this, I know what I'm doing in my life, and I'm gonna do whatever, that kind of like energy. And so it was really sweet that we were talking about the cluelessness, and then those symbols would just come by every now and then. It was really nice. And yeah, I just feel like, the course says, and now, like a holy relationship is given you. So there are these holy relationships. Like, I think I shared this on a previous show, but I was watching Aquaman, and then there was a really deep moment for me when I was just meditating, like all of a sudden during the movie, and just getting these downloads and just from the spirit. And I just heard, it's like 2 very important holy relationships for your healing, Nicolas and Carolina. And so it's like, okay, I need to remember something like that. And then when I feel that push away, because, it's like, I can feel a push away with both Nicolas and Carolina sometimes. And yeah, it did play out like, oh yeah, just in the communications, there could have been like a higher level of communication. And it's like remembering, okay, what's the priority, Holy Spirit? Oh yeah, the relationships. So I need to call Nicolas right now and move towards that holy relationship so I can heal my mind. It's like maybe a lot of you out there like have husbands or wives or whatever that were guided, and you really felt a draw from the spirit towards them. Like, you all know that, it probably feels like at some point there's like a push away. It's like, no, I don't want to go towards you anymore. Like, and then all this stuff is coming up, and yeah, it doesn't have to be like a wife-husband relationship. It can be a friend, like a friend sent to you by the spirit, that there's a healing assignment there. And, usually it's some kind of complementary ego dynamics. And it's like your ego doesn't want to go towards them because there's healing that's going to happen. But that's the whole point. It's like, that's why it's important to keep moving towards those given spirit assignments, because there's healing, and that's what we want. And it's like, yeah, it's always remembering and being in deep prayer, like, yeah, what is it that I want? And getting in touch with our heart, because it's like, really, yeah, everyone deep down wants this healing and wants the awakening. And it's like, it's just our role to really, our job to stay in touch with that desire, because then when we are, it's like there's less resistance, and then the means that are given can more easily be fully accepted, which can include any holy relationships or whatever might come in. It just feels like it can be more easily accepted when you're in touch with your true desire. And then otherwise it's more like, oh yeah, what do I want? And then it's like the ego will throw a lot of bones at you and sticks and stuff and say, here, I got some things for you. And then when we're not in touch with what we really want, then that's when those sticks and bones and whatever that the ego is trying to throw at us get like very tempting. And then we just become unhappy again. So I feel like, yeah, it's really important to stay in touch with how we feel at all times. and stay in touch with our true desire of our heart, and then remember what the priority is the Holy Spirit has for your life right now. Like maybe it's a project, maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's both. And that's part of the guidance. That is guidance. And that's why guidance is so important, because yeah, we can't do this ourselves. Like I can't do this. I can't heal these patterns or things in the mind. Like I literally don't know how. It's like what Jeffrey told me that I shared on the last show. Like I can't, he can, I think I'll let him, because I can't. It's like that's why. And yeah, just really staying in that deep humbleness of I can't do this. I can't heal my mind. I can't wake myself up. I don't know what I'm doing. And that part in the course that I really love is like, goes something like, I do not know the thing I am. I do not know where I am, who I am, what I'm doing, where I'm going, or how to look upon the world or on myself. It's like, wow. It's like you have to have a deep humbleness to accept that, because it's true. It's like, if we're literally psychotic, psychosis is a break from reality. We've had a break from heaven. So if we're totally psychotic and we're seeing the world through a total distortion, how are we supposed to know our way out of this if we're like so identified with a puff of nothingness? It's like there's no way. It's like what Albert Einstein said, you can't solve the problem at the level of the problem. You can't heal the ego if you think you're an ego. It's like only the Holy Spirit can heal. So it's like, yeah, and the Holy Spirit's, not at the same level. So yeah, I just feel like it's a deep humbleness. And it's like, yeah, a deep like, okay, Holy Spirit, I don't know how to move through these patterns right now. So just use me, because I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like for myself, I want to reinforce that prayer that I was even sharing earlier again. I just want to I really want to be shown from the Spirit that I can't mess it up, and that there is no loss, and that there is no sacrifice, and that this is everything that I want. I want to feel that very deeply. I want, that's been my prayer lately. Help me remember. I want to remember like what it's all for. I want to remember the joy. I want to remember the purpose. So I just feel like with all of that, I just feel like bring it on, Holy Spirit. And maybe that's even why it's been so intense, because it was that last show, I think, that we did together that I prayed, bring it on, and Jeffrey reminded me of that. Well, yeah, like make these big prayers, you can expect that there's going to be like a shakeup, because everything's happening for you. Nothing comes to you unbidden. Everything comes to you at your request, basically to wake up, whether you're conscious of it or not. And I don't know if you're open to this or not, Andy, but one of the things that Jeffrey's been suggesting to me that's actually been really helpful, I feel like I've had this thought for myself to do in the past, and just now that my sponsor is helping me or guiding me with this, just basically I've been rereading the clarity process. At least I try to every day now. And it's actually been very helpful for my mind just to actually bring that process as much as I can into every joining I have, by reinforcing it each day. That's like the prayer. That's the intention, to remember the clarity process during every joining, which is normally for like group expressions. At least I think that was the initial purpose of the clarity process. But I just feel like it's helpful for any encounter, just the more I look at it. So if you're open to it, I kind of felt to read all of it. I don't know. Well, basically, here's a printed out version, but you can find this on any of our websites. Well, maybe I shouldn't say any. I don't know if it's actually that widespread, but it's at least on our livingmiracles.org website. Or if you even just type in the clarity process, Living Miracles or something like that, you'll find it. It's very helpful. So clarity, the clear communication process. The purpose of the clarity process is to give and receive unconditional love, acceptance, and support. To create a safe, loving, non-judgmental space in which we can open our hearts and move through our fears. To learn how to listen from a place of true empathy as taught by Jesus in A Course in Miracles. To learn how to expose and release limiting beliefs and concepts in an accountable way. The outcome of the clarity process is a clear mind. So even this, like Jeffrey had this in mind for me before I shared that deep prayer with everyone a few days ago, that like I wanted like freedom of mind, clarity of mind. And so even all this, the outcome of the clarity process is a clear mind. So one chapter in A Course in Miracles that helps kind of share about this is from chapter 14, section 6 in paragraph 8. The Holy Spirit's function is entirely communication. He therefore must remove whatever interferes with communication in order to restore it. Therefore, keep no source of interference from his sight, for he will not attack your sentinels. But bring them to him, bring the darkness to the light, and let his gentleness teach you that in the light they are not fearful and cannot serve to guard the dark doors behind which nothing at all is carefully concealed. We're protecting something that in reality actually isn't real and has no substance. We must open all doors and let the light come streaming through. There are no hidden chambers in God's temple. Its gates are open wide to greet his Son. No one can fail to come where God has called him, if he close not the door himself upon his Father's welcome. So, I just love that, like that metaphor, that's being used of, it's like there's such a deep invite within, like to this deep sense of safety and of love and peace. And yet it's like each time that we're given this prompt, or we can feel like, oh, I just need to say this, I just need to expose this. There's, of course, that immediate reaction from the ego. No, you can't. Like you'll lose something, whatever the excuses are, like you'll be rejected. That's like closing the door upon your Father's welcome, which always, there's been something so tender, so touching about that term Father in that truest sense that has always resonated with me. But I did just want to then read actually the steps to the clarity process. So this just feels really powerful. So if this was in a group, it asks that you open the session with prayer, inviting the Holy Spirit to be present. But, even if it's not inviting the whole group to it, it's like you can just invite this in your own mind in any encounter. Just, be with me. Help me speak your words. Help me to be here, to be truly helpful here. Only to be truly helpful here. So then the 13 steps of the clarity process are: 1, we will remember our purpose. We are here to love and accept one another, not to judge, analyze, rescue, or try to fix one another. We agree to share from our hearts and be honest about what we are thinking and feeling. This is a time to look at and question the beliefs that block the awareness of love's presence. If we are experiencing judgment when another is speaking, it is an opportunity for us to look at our own healing. We will not interrupt anyone's process. We will give the person sharing our undivided attention We will not engage in crosstalk. And that part about undivided attention makes me think of like every relationship is a full commitment. You know, that's the greatest gift we can give, like this undivided attention and holding this presence of true empathy. We will take 30 seconds of silence to acknowledge each person's sharing. We will not monopolize the group's time and attention. We will stay present and focused. Those are different steps. So then step 7 is we will make I statements, not you statements. We will take responsibility for our own experiences and respect the experience of others. We will not assign our meaning to something someone else has said. 8, we will not hide our hurt or angry feelings. We will share them without trying to make others responsible for how we feel. 9, we will not defend ourselves or try to justify our words or actions. We will share any feelings that come up for us in the safety of the circle. Or again, if it's not a group thing and it's just an encounter with someone, it's, with someone that, is holding the space. Of course, all this is discernment, but in our context, then it would just be with with the spirit within. 10, we will not bring up the past or future unless they are happening for us here and now. We will stay focused on what we are feeling right now. 11, we will honor the silence, knowing that it offers us an opportunity to hear the Holy Spirit and become more deeply present to ourselves and others. 12, if we feel that the group is going off purpose, we will ask for a moment of silence during which our group can recenter and remember its purpose. I can tell you that sense of being worthy to ask for pausing has been actually quite difficult for me, and I can just see it's a practice of stepping into worthiness and into strength of like, okay, wait, can we pause for a moment? This is more in a group setting, but still, it's like the worthiness to ask for prayer, which really should be welcome in any situation, just to be in prayer. And then 13, the last one is we will use whatever transpires in the group as an opportunity to practice forgiveness. And then the group agreement, again, if this is in a group, we will agree to honor the purpose of the group and to practice the process and to be present. So, I really felt like I wanted to share that. Most of all for me, because I know that by sharing it, there's a sense of accountability. Everything I share, like on this show, I feel as one huge benefit of it is that it's a way of holding myself accountable to what it is I share. Because I know if I share it out loud, especially broadcasted with another to everyone, it's out on the internet, that it's just a deeper way of being like, of reinforcing my prayers and being like, okay, I've asked for this. Everything that transpires is for me and not happening, to me or against me. Well, I think that might be it for me, unless there's anything else that's really on your heart to share.
I think the only thought I had is the last thing he said really reminds me of the responsibility for sight, which I know is part of Jeffrey's morning routine. I think he reads the responsibility for sight. And when I was in Camas, we have a really beautiful framed version of it right outside the office, and we call it the office, but and every time I'd walk by, or as many times as I could remember, I would just look at it and yeah, I just feel like it's that's a really good reminder. But yeah, I feel pretty complete.
Yeah, well, maybe we can just remind everyone that, Modern Mystics will no longer be on Mondays. It's on Sundays during our multi-show uh, broadcast that happens on the Sundays through Zoom. So you can either come onto the Zoom room or watch on YouTube Live, or of course, you can always go to spirit.ai/TV and look at the YouTube player. And we will be currently, and hopefully for a while, so we don't have to keep changing the times, but will be the 10:30 a.m. MST show, which at the moment is the last show that's happening on those broadcasts. So yeah, we just look forward to seeing you all there. So again, Sundays, 10:30 a.m. MST.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the Zoom room link. Yeah, it's like now we can all be in the same room too. So the Zoom room link is on spirit.ai/TV if you want to like see everyone else's faces. And but yeah, so that or YouTube Live or spirit.ai. So yeah, so thank you guys, and thank you, Nicolas.
Yeah, thank you,
to be on with you.
Thank you.
Holy relationships. Some good healing. Okay.
Bye
Thank you, everyone.